Hello and welcome to another time-lapse sketching tutorial. Today we are going to sketch this statue of Dante Alighieri that's located in Florence, Italy. This is the reference photo I'm using, which you can download from the video description below. And as usual, this video is the condensed version of the full-length tutorial I have made for my patrons. So if you want to support me and my YouTube channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. Instead of using the graphite pencil I usually use to block out the elements, today I'm using a light blue colored pencil because I don't want to waste time later to erase the graphite pencil marks. So I start this sketch by blocking out the proportion for the statue and the pedestal beneath it. If you draw the statue too big, you will have to draw the pedestal beneath bigger and the steps beneath that bigger, and you may run out of space. So it's very helpful to use pencils to mark out the proportion first before you start drawing. Or if you are very confident with getting the proportion right, you can go straight with ink. It's more exciting. Alright, so we have the statue on the pedestal. As I'm sketching the statue of Dante, I'm constantly thinking of proportion, like how big the head is in proportion to the body, where are the arms in relation to the body, and where the feet should end. I'm constantly thinking of proportion because I need to make sure that the figure is in proportion. And the pedestal is in proportion to the statue. It's actually much bigger in proportion to the statue, and there are 3 stone lions visible in front, and one is obviously behind the statue. Before drawing the lions, make sure you leave space for the lion. The trick to drawing accurately is to really spend the time to observe what you see. Draw what you see, not what you think you see. Drawing the steps is challenging because there are many lines. So what I like to do is to use some vertical lines to mark out the different surfaces, to differentiate the different surfaces. For the flat surfaces, I don't do anything, but for the surfaces, for the steps that's facing me, I will mark them with vertical lines. Because when you draw too many lines, you can get lost. So sometimes I like to add little details to certain areas to remind me of what I am drawing. Oh, there is an eagle behind. My eagle unfortunately doesn't look like an eagle, it looks like a crow. This scene is nice to sketch because there are foreground and background elements. We have people seated on the steps, so before you draw the steps, it would be good to draw the people first and then draw the lines behind the people to represent the steps. We have the statue in front of the buildings. If you want to differentiate the statue in the foreground versus the background, you can draw the background with thinner lines. There are many people in the scene. When drawing people, just try to draw them slowly. Observe what you see and draw what you see. When you see someone not moving that much in real life, draw that person first. Draw stationary people first. When drawing windows, make sure the windows align from top to bottom. I just realized on hindsight that the windows at the ground floor, they don't align with the windows from the second and the third floor, unfortunately. So it looks kind of weird right now. I didn't realize that while I was drawing, but that's something to take note of. Make sure the windows align from top to bottom. And we have some little chimneys in the background on top of the roofs. I try to draw the background elements with thinner lines. I'm not sure if you noticed that. Okay, so now it's time to paint. I have I can't remember what color that is. A Verditer blue. Yeah, it's Daniel Smith Verditer blue mixed with maybe some ultramarine. I'm using the tissue to block out the fluffy clouds, and the other colors I'm using are nickel azo yellow and Anthraquinoid Scarlet. So I'm using a limited color palette to paint this sketch. So with a limited color palette, you don't have to think too much when it comes to color mixing, because you can only mix colors with those limited colors that you pick at the start. For the grays, it's just a mix of the three primary colors. If you want the gray to look more gray or cooler, you can add more blue. I like to test the mixture on a small area before I paint on a big area, because if you make any mistakes with color mixing, at least the mistake is made on a small area. The light and shadow in this scene looks great. There are cast shadows on the building on the left side, and there are form shadows on the statue itself. And this scene has a good mix of values from light to dark, so this scene has good contrast. I'm trying to fix the mistake with the clouds, which doesn't look too fluffy to me. Yeah. And now I'm painting the darker form shadows on the steps. Depending on the limited color palette you are using, sometimes it can be difficult to mix really dark shadows. So if I find that I am unable to mix dark shadows, I would add some phthalo blue or maybe use ultramarine, in addition to the limited color palette I'm using. And also, when mixing colors, it's good to have the colors mix on the paper rather than mix them completely on the watercolor palette. So you can see on the left side, that building, the initial wash was mixed with the red and yellow, but I allowed the colors to blend on the paper rather than mix the colors completely in the palette. So now the wall, the building on the left side, it looks more interesting. And now I'm just adding little details such as spots of colors, and also making certain areas darker to create more contrast. The windows are very dark, and the underside of the roof, it's very dark, almost black. I'm also using my white gel pen to add details such as textures. If you notice the people seated on the steps, they are against a very dark background. However, because I have already painted the people with darker colors, I'm not going to paint the backdrop or background much darker, so that there is still contrast between the people and the background. And this is how the sketch looks with the tape removed. The watercolor paper I'm using is the Derwent Inktense watercolor paper, which is made with 100% cotton. The surface is cold press. And this sketch looks good. I am quite satisfied with the sketch, and I like the texture of this paper. Alright, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next tutorial. Bye!